You're getting married tomorrow. But this isn't about love. It isn't even about choice. At just 12 years old, your parents have already sold you off to secure a business deal that benefits them. Not you. Your wedding isn't a celebration. It's a transaction. And tomorrow night, as the music fades and the feasting ends, the horror truly begins. Because in the Middle Ages, your wedding night is not private. It's a spectacle. Guests gather outside the chamber to witness proof of consummation, sometimes even watching you being led to the bed. Your innocence stripped away not just by your new husband, but by the weight of tradition that demands you perform for the crowd. And if you think survival is guaranteed, think again. Childbirth is waiting for you. A deadly gamble where half of young brides never live to see another spring. Your body, too young to bear the weight of pregnancy, is now a battlefield. Even if you survive childbirth, you're not safe. Because in this world, your husband has full legal power over your body, your life, and your death. Domestic abuse isn't a crime, it's an expectation. A husband beating his wife into submission was not only accepted but considered his right. So when people said, "Till death do us part," it wasn't poetry. It was reality. A grim reminder that your wedding day could very well mark the beginning of your countdown to the grave. Think your dating life is bad. At least it isn't medieval marriage. In the Middle Ages, marriage was never about love. It was a contract written in ink and sealed with blood. Families measured their daughters not by dreams or futures, but by the weight of land, coin, and alliances their bodies could secure. A girl was not seen as a child. She was an investment, traded like grain or cattle, bound by decisions made long before she even understood the meaning of the word wedding. At 12 years old, you are nothing more than a bargaining chip. Your fate already sold to the highest bidder, the ink on the agreement dry before you even grasp what has been taken from you. In your world, silence is survival. Obedience is survival. Resistance is impossible. From the moment you are handed over, your body ceases to be your own. The law, the church, and your family strip it from you, leaving behind a shell dressed in lace and silk, paraded as property. Your husband doesn't need your consent, because you don't own yourself. You never did. And as you walk through the dim corridors of a stone fortress that will now be called your home, every candlelit shadow whispers the same truth. This is not a beginning. It is an end. The weight of expectation presses heavier than the jeweled crown your groom's family places upon your head. To the outside world, your wedding is a joyous occasion, a merging of power, wealth, and faith. But beneath the layers of fabric and ceremony, you feel the slow tightening of a noose. The church sanctifies the marriage, declaring it holy, binding, eternal. Yet holiness does not shield you from the brutal reality that awaits. The vows you repeat are not promises but chains. Your husband gains total control over your food, your movement, your voice, your very breath. Outside the stone walls of the church, peasants cheer, nobles whisper, and coins exchange hands. None of them see you, none of them want to. You are a symbol, not a soul, a vessel for heirs, a pawn for politics, a body condemned to serve a legacy that will never bear your name. And as the sun sets on your wedding day, you realize the cruelest truth of all. No one will come to save you. Not your parents who sold you, not the church which sanctified your prison, not even time which promises only more years of silence, suffering, and shadows. The feast has ended. The music, once deafening, has died to a faint echo against the stone walls. Candles flicker in their iron sconces, dripping wax onto the tables littered with half-eaten bread, and bones gnawed to splinters. The laughter of drunken men fades into murmurs, replaced by something heavier, something waiting. The true spectacle of the night has not yet begun. You are led away from the hall, your hands trembling inside the silken sleeves of your gown. The garment feels more like a shroud than a celebration, embroidered with gold, weighted with jewels, each stitch a reminder of the price your parents were paid to hand you over. Behind you, whispers follow like shadows. They will not stay behind for long. They will follow you into the chamber. The wedding night is not your secret. It is not a private memory to be held between two souls. It is a performance demanded by law, by custom, by the hungry eyes of families, eager to ensure the deal is complete. For them, marriage is not sealed by vows or blessings. It is sealed by proof, proof of consummation, proof of fertility, proof of obedience. You enter the chamber. A bed sits in the center, draped in crimson cloth, its wood carved with saints who look down with blank, unseeing eyes. A basin of water gleams in the candlelight, prepared for the ritual that will stain it red. Women, older, stern, accustomed to this cruelty, hover at the edges, ready to examine the sheets come morning. They will search for the mark of your innocence, the blood that proves you were untouched until this night. Without it, whispers will grow into accusations. Accusations will grow into punishment. Your husband stands beside you, silent, heavy with drink and expectation. To him, you are not a wife. You are property, an object now transferred into his possession, a vessel whose worth lies in heirs yet unborn. He looks at you as a farmer might look at a field he has just acquired, calculating what it might yield, how it might serve his legacy. The door does not shut behind you. Guests remain outside, some pressing close, their laughter sickening. It is not uncommon for nobles to linger, to wait for the sounds that prove the ritual is underway. Some even shove their way in, demanding to witness as though your suffering were entertainment. The weight of eyes, imagined or real, suffocates you. The air is heavy, thick with the scent of wine and sweat, with the silence of saints carved in wood who will not answer your prayers. The bed becomes a stage, and you the unwilling actress in a play written centuries before you were born. What follows is not love. It is not intimacy. It is invasion, humiliation, the theft of your last shred of childhood. You are 12, perhaps 13, your body not yet ready for the violence demanded of it. Pain sears through you, echoing in the hollow chambers of your bones. There is no tenderness, only the urgency of proving ownership. And when it ends, there is no comfort, only the waiting, the examination, the judgment. In the morning, women will gather the sheets and hold them aloft for others to see. Blood is celebrated, not as your suffering, but as a seal, a contract fulfilled. If the stains are absent, it is you who will bear the blame. Perhaps accused of impurity, perhaps punished, perhaps discarded altogether. From that night forward, you are no longer a child. You are no longer a daughter. You are no longer yourself. You are a wife, and that word in the Middle Ages is less a role than a sentence. Days bleed into weeks, and the reality of your new life sets in like cold stone. Each morning begins with silence, broken only by the shuffle of servants who dress you in layers of cloth that conceal your body, while failing to protect your soul. The castle walls rise around you, grey and suffocating, cutting you off from the world you once knew. Freedom is a memory, faint as the scent of flowers you will never again walk among unaccompanied. Every step outside your chamber is monitored, every word weighed. A wife's duty is obedience. A wife's sin is defiance. The law gives you no protection. The church blesses your suffering. Your husband's word is absolute, his hand the tool of discipline sanctioned by both God and man. If he strikes you, it is not a crime. It is his right. If he silences you, it is not oppression. It is order. The world calls it marriage, but to you it feels like chains tightening around your throat. You begin to fade within yourself, your reflection in the polished silver growing dimmer with each passing day. The girl you once were slips further into shadow, replaced by a figure molded by fear and silence. To speak is dangerous. To resist is unthinkable. To dream is useless. And yet, even as you vanish, expectation grows. Your worth is now measured by one thing alone, the promise of children. The women around you, older brides, now hollow-eyed matrons, whisper warnings beneath their breath. They speak of childbirth not as a blessing, but as a battlefield. They tell of girls who bled to death on wedding nights, of mothers torn apart by labor, of infants born only to die before drawing a second breath. Every story is a shadow creeping closer, and you know that soon it will be yours. The chamber that once felt foreign now becomes a prison. Its walls echo with silence, broken only by the heavy footsteps of your husband or the hushed whispers of servants. Every object in the room reminds you of the role you must play. The bed draped in crimson, the cradle already placed at its foot, the rosary hung on the wall as if prayer could soften the weight of obedience. You are reminded daily that your body is no longer yours. It belongs to him, to his family, to the future heirs that have yet to be born. At meals, older women remind you of your duty. Priests remind you that suffering is holy, that a wife must be submissive, that childbirth is a woman's divine purpose. Even silence is weaponized against you. To question is sin. To resist is blasphemy. Each night, you brace yourself for what follows. The ritual repeats, the bed, the pain, the suffocating weight of expectation. Some nights he is drunk, other nights sober, but it makes no difference. There is no kindness in either state. To him you are not a companion. You are a vessel, a means to secure his legacy. You hear him speak of land, titles, alliances, but never of you. You're absent from your own life, an afterthought in the story of his ambition. Beyond the chamber, the world celebrates your union. Feasts are held, alliances strengthened, fortunes secured. But none of that reaches you. You exist in shadows, your presence acknowledged only when heirs are discussed, when your womb is mentioned as though it were a field waiting to be sown. And so you learn to shrink, to vanish within the corners of your mind. Days blur into nights, nights into days, until time itself loses meaning. But there is one constant, one growing terror that keeps you awake beneath the weight of linen sheets, the fear of childbirth. The whispers grow louder. Servants speak of girls younger than you, carried bleeding from their chambers after nights like your own. Midwives tell hushed stories of bodies too small, too fragile, breaking under the strain of labor. They speak of mothers who scream for hours, days even, until their voices break and their bodies follow. Death lingers in these stories, always close, always waiting. And you know it waits for you. In the marketplace, peasants bury daughters who died before reaching 15, victims of the very vows you have spoken. In the manners of nobility, women vanish into their chambers only to emerge as corpses, their children swaddled in silence beside them. Survival is rare, and even then, survival does not mean freedom. For a wife who lives, there is only more of the same, more pregnancies, more suffering, more silence. If death does not take you in childbirth, life will take you piece by piece until there is nothing left but obedience. And yet the world tells you this is sacred. The Church declares that a wife's suffering is holy, her silence divine, her pain a path to salvation. They tell you it is God's will that you endure, that you submit, that you accept every beating, every tear, every scream swallowed into the night. To defy this is to defy not only your husband, but heaven itself. The cruelty is not hidden. It is celebrated. When your husband strikes you, it is considered correction. When he controls your food, your clothing, your words, it is considered order. When he silences your pleas, it is considered discipline. And when he demands your body, it is considered law. There is no refuge, no escape, no protection. Each day you wake, wondering if this will be the day the news comes, that you are with child. The thought brings no joy, only dread. You picture the cradle at the foot of your bed, not as a promise of life, but as a symbol of death. Your death. You imagine yourself lying still, pale as the sheets that once displayed your blood, your child wailing in the arms of strangers. And still the world calls this life. The rising fear coils tighter around you with every passing hour, every lingering glance of older women who know what awaits you. Their silence speaks volumes. Their eyes, hollow from their own suffering, tell the story you are too afraid to hear aloud, that your fate is sealed, that there is no happy ending, no escape, only the slow descent into the same abyss they have already endured. You are not alone in your suffering, but you are trapped in it as they are, as all brides are. The walls of marriage are thicker than stone, fortified not by mortar but by law, by faith, by the silent acceptance of a society that has always viewed women as currency, not people. And so you wait, trapped between dread and inevitability, counting the days not in hours but in heartbeats. Each one could be your last. Each one brings you closer to the moment that will decide whether you live or whether you join the countless brides buried beneath the soil of forgotten graves. Your wedding night was only the beginning. The true horror lies ahead. The weeks turn into months. The whispers become reality. Your body, not yet ready, begins to change. The swell of your belly becomes proof that the contract has succeeded. Servants whisper, priests nod, and your husband smiles with pride, not at you but at the legacy now growing inside you. For everyone else, your pregnancy is a victory. For you, it is a sentence. Childbirth in the Middle Ages is not a miracle. It is a gamble, one with odds so cruel that even the strongest women rarely survive unscarred. At 12, 13, or 14 years old, your body is too fragile, too narrow, too unprepared for what is to come. But no one cares. Your suffering is not considered tragedy. It is considered duty. The midwives arrive, their hands rough, their eyes knowing. They speak of herbs and charms, of whispered prayers to saints and rituals meant to ease pain. But beneath their words lies an unspoken truth. They have seen too many girls die in the same bed where you now lie. Some slip away silently, their faces pale and still, their newborns screaming into the void. Others linger, torn apart by the agony of labor, bleeding until the sheets are soaked and the cradle remains empty. The Church has no mercy. It declares childbirth a woman's holy burden, a punishment inherited from Eve. Pain is sacred. Blood is salvation. Death in labor is not tragedy, it is destiny. And so when you cry out, your voice breaking against the stone walls, there is no comfort. The priests tell you to endure, to accept, to thank God for the suffering that proves your obedience. The hours stretch into eternity. Each contraction is a wave pulling you deeper into darkness. Your breath shatters, your body twists. Your bones feel as though they might break. You are drowning in pain, and yet the world outside waits only for one thing, the sound of a baby's first cry. And when that cry comes, it is not relief. It is a reminder. You may live or you may die, but either way, your body is no longer yours. The child is not yours. It belongs to your husband, to his family, to his name. You are merely the vessel that delivered it, broken and discarded once the task is done. If you survive, there is no celebration for you. There is only the knowledge that your body will be forced to endure this again and again until it finally breaks. Outside the chamber, life continues without pause. Men toast to the birth of an heir. Servants bustle to prepare food. The church bells ring as though a miracle has occurred. No one sees the blood staining the sheets, the tears staining your cheeks, the silent scream in your hollow eyes. And when you finally rise from the bed days later, weak, trembling, your body aching in ways you never imagined, the world expects you to return to duty, to smile, to obey, to prepare for the next child. Your survival is not freedom. It is simply endurance. Your husband does not soften. The law does not change. The church does not comfort. In fact, survival makes you more valuable, more useful, more burdened. You have proven you can bear life, and so you will be made to do it again and again until your youth is drained, your beauty fades, and your body is nothing but scars of battles fought and lost in silence. Some women do not survive childbirth. Others do, but wish they had not. Because what follows survival is not life, but endless repetition of the same pain. There is no reprieve, no escape, no hope, and always looming in the shadows is your husband's hand. In this world, he is the law. His authority extends beyond the bedroom, beyond the cradle, beyond the grave. He may strike you, silence you, starve you, confine you, and it is not considered cruelty. It is considered his right. If you displease him, he may punish you. If you anger him, he may harm you. If you fail him, he may kill you, and the law will not ask questions. You are wife, mother, servant, property. You are everything to him, and nothing to yourself. The days after childbirth blur into one another, your body aching, your spirit fractured. Yet the expectations do not ease. If you can walk, you must serve. If you can speak, you must obey. If you can breathe, you must prepare for the next heir. Your survival is not celebrated, it is assumed. The world does not thank you for enduring agony. It demands more of it. The cradle at the foot of your bed becomes both a comfort and a curse. Each time you gaze upon it, you see not just your child, but the shadow of your own mortality. For every infant sleeping in swaddled cloth, there is a mother buried beneath the earth, her body broken by the very act that was meant to sanctify her existence. You count yourself among the lucky ones, though luck feels like a cruel word. For what does it mean to survive? Only to face the same fate again and again. Each pregnancy is another roll of the dice, another chance for death to claim you. And as your body weakens, the odds shift further against you. But death is not the only terror. Life itself is cruel enough. Your husband grows restless. When the baby cries, he strikes you for failing to soothe it quickly enough. When meals are not to his liking, his hand finds your cheek. When you speak without permission, his voice becomes thunder, and his fists deliver punishment sanctified by both custom and law. No one comes to your defense. Servants avert their eyes. Mothers-in-law scold you for provoking him. Priests remind you that obedience is holy. They call it discipline, correction, a husband's sacred right. The bruises on your body are invisible to the world because the world refuses to see them. Your voice, once soft with childhood, has grown silent. You no longer speak unless spoken to. You no longer dream of escape. Even your prayers feel hollow, unanswered echoes bouncing back from cold stone walls. And still the cycle continues. Another child, another night of pain, another morning of expectation. With each birth, your body grows weaker, your spirit thinner, until you feel yourself dissolving, becoming less human, more shadow. You are not a woman. You are a function, a vessel, a name on a family tree that will never remember your suffering. The law reinforces your erasure. It declares that you cannot own property, cannot inherit, cannot decide for yourself. Your husband owns everything, your dowry, your labor, your children, your very body. If you disobey, he may confine you. If you anger him, he may strike you. If he wishes, he may end you. And still the law will protect him, not you. The church blesses this cruelty. Priests preach obedience from the pulpit, quoting scripture that demands wives submit to their husbands as they would to God. They warn against defiance, painting it as sin, as rebellion against divine order. They remind you that Eve's transgression cursed all women to suffer in childbirth, to obey men, to endure pain as penance. Your agony is not injustice, it is salvation. Your parents do not intervene. They remind you that this was your duty, that they secured your marriage for the good of the family. They call you ungrateful if you dare hint at despair. To them, your suffering is not tragedy. It is proof of their success. And so you live in silence, unseen and unheard, your identity stripped layer by layer until nothing remains. You wonder if the world would notice if you vanished altogether. Perhaps your husband would find another bride. Perhaps your family would trade another daughter. Perhaps the church would bless another union. You would be replaced, forgotten, buried beneath the soil along with countless others whose names have already been lost to time. Yet your suffering is not unique. It is the pattern of medieval marriage itself. The law, the church, the family, all conspire to ensure that wives remain silent, obedient, and expendable. To be a wife is to disappear. To be a mother is to risk death. To be a woman is to serve without question, without rest, without end. And still they call this holy. Each night you lie awake, staring at the ceiling beams above, your body aching, your mind numb. You count the hours until morning, the days until the next birth, the years until your body breaks completely. Death feels less like a terror and more like an escape, a release from the cycle of pain that defines your existence. You wonder how many women before you thought the same, how many brides stared at the same ceiling, whispered the same prayers, felt the same despair. How many graves lie hidden beneath the earth, each one a silent testimony to the cruelty of marriage in this world. And then you realize too many, far too many, enough to fill entire villages, entire generations, enough to prove that what happened to you was never accident, never misfortune. It was design. The cruelty was never hidden. It was expected. It was demanded. It was celebrated. And with that realization, the rising action reaches its breaking point. Because what lies ahead, the childbirths, the violence, the silence, is no longer just endurance. It is the slow, deliberate destruction of your humanity. You are not living. You are being erased. The night comes without warning. Your body, frail from endless births, gives way once more. The contractions tear through you like fire, sharper than before, deeper than your bones can endure. Around you, midwives whisper prayers, crossing themselves, but their eyes betray the truth. They do not expect you to live. You bleed and the room grows colder. Every breath feels like the last. The voices blur into echoes, the candlelight into shadows. You are not a bride anymore, not even a mother. You are a body broken on the altar of duty. Your husband waits outside, impatient, already speaking of heirs, of legacy, of land secured through your suffering. To him, your agony is background noise, an inconvenience on the path to his pride. You scream, but no one hears. Or perhaps they hear and simply accept it, because this is what marriage is. Not love, not partnership, not sanctuary, but death, slow, sanctioned, celebrated. And as the blood pools and your vision fades, you realize the final, brutal truth. In the medieval world, marriage was never about life. It was always about sacrifice. And wives were the offering. The world will not remember your name. Your story will not be carved into stone or sung in ballads. You will vanish into the soil, one more forgotten bride among countless others. And yet your silence still speaks. It speaks through the graves that outnumber the living, through the stories whispered in fear, through the scars carried by generations of women who endured the same fate. Medieval marriage was not romance, it was survival, and often survival was impossible. Love had no place in the contracts signed by fathers, the laws written by kings, the sermons preached by priests. Women were pawns, traded, consumed, and erased. And while centuries have passed, the question remains, how much of this cruelty still echoes today? How often do tradition, power, or silence continue to bind women in chains disguised as vows? When you think of "Till Death Do Us Part," remember, it was never poetry. It was prophecy.